My name is Catherine, and at 32 years old, I never imagined my own father would try to erase me from existence. I was sitting at my desk when my coworker Grace gasped and shoved her phone in my face. There it was on Facebook, a poll my dad created asking if the family should erase one person, and should it be me. 47 votes already, most saying yes. But what shattered my heart was seeing my stepmother Victoria's vote with a laughing emoji next to it. Before we dive into how my entire family conspired to destroy me, let me know where you're watching from today. If you've ever felt like the black sheep of your family, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, what happens next will show you that sometimes the people who should love us most become our greatest enemies. Let me take you back 2 weeks before that devastating poll appeared. I had just received the promotion I'd worked 5 years for, becoming senior marketing director at my company. When I called my father Richard to share the news, his initial congratulations felt genuine. "That's my girl," he said, but his tone shifted when I mentioned the salary increase. Suddenly, his voice turned cold. "Well, don't let it go to your head, Catherine. Money isn't everything." That should have been my first warning sign. The following Sunday, I arrived at my childhood home for our monthly family dinner, carrying an expensive wine to celebrate. My stepmother Victoria greeted me at the door with her practiced smile, the one that never quite reached her eyes. She'd married my father 8 years ago, 2 years after my mother passed away from cancer. "Oh, Catherine," she cooed, air-kissing my cheek. "Richard told me about your little promotion. How nice for you." The way she said little made my achievement sound like I'd won a participation trophy at a children's soccer game. Inside, my half-sister Emma lounged on the couch, scrolling through her phone. At 22, she was still living at home, taking a few community college classes while Victoria convinced my father that Emma needed time to find herself. Emma looked up just long enough to roll her eyes. "Great, the golden child is here to blind us with her success again." Before I could respond, my brother Tyler emerged from the basement where he'd been living for the past 3 years. At 28, he was 2 years younger than me but seemed determined to avoid any form of adult responsibility. "Hey there, moneybags," he sneered, helping himself to the wine I'd brought without asking. Dinner started normally enough. I tried to keep conversation light, asking Emma about her classes and Tyler about his job search. But Victoria kept steering the discussion back to my promotion. "It must be nice," she said, cutting her chicken with deliberate precision, "to have so much while your family struggles." I nearly choked on my water. My father earned a solid income as a contractor, and they lived in a 4-bedroom house with a pool. "I'm not sure what you mean," I replied carefully. That's when my father dropped his fork. "Don't play dumb, Catherine. You know Tyler needs help with his student loans, and Emma's wedding fund isn't going to fill itself." Emma wasn't even engaged, but I knew better than to point that out. The tension escalated when Tyler launched into his usual complaint about how unfair life was. "Some of us weren't born lucky," he muttered, glaring at me. "Some of us actually struggle while others just waltz into 6-figure salaries." I wanted to scream that I'd worked 60-hour weeks for years, earned my MBA at night school, and sacrificed my entire social life for this promotion. Instead, I took a deep breath. "Tyler, I worked really hard for this position. It wasn't luck." Victoria's laugh was sharp as breaking glass. "Oh please, Catherine. We all know how young women get ahead in corporate America." The implication hung in the air like poison gas. Even my father didn't defend me, just continued eating as if his wife hadn't just accused me of sleeping my way to success. Emma decided to pile on. "You know what your problem is, Catherine? You think you're better than us. Always have. Even when we were kids, you had to be the perfect one with perfect grades and perfect behavior. Do you know how hard it was growing up in your shadow?" I stared at her, genuinely confused. When she was born, I was 10 years old and had adored her, helped with feedings, taught her to read. "Emma, I never tried to overshadow you. I love you." She snorted. "Love? You love making me feel worthless. Last month when I showed you my art project, all you said was that's nice before launching into another story about your amazing job. I remembered that conversation differently. She'd shown me a half-finished sketch while I was on an important work call, and I'd asked if we could talk about it properly later. Victoria seized the moment. This is exactly what I mean. Catherine, you're so wrapped up in your own success that you don't even see how you hurt others. Your father and I have been discussing this, and we think it's time you learn to share your blessings with family. My stomach turned. Share my blessings? I repeated. You mean give you money? My father finally spoke up, his voice stern. Family helps family, Catherine. When you were growing up, I paid for everything. Now it's your turn to give back. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'd had a part-time job since I was 16, paid for my own college through loans and scholarships, and never asked them for a penny after turning 18. The final straw came when Victoria suggested I should give my entire promotion bonus to help the family. When I politely declined, explaining I was saving for a house down payment, she exchanged a meaningful look with Emma. They spent the rest of dinner texting under the table, occasionally showing Tyler something on their phones that made him smirk. I left early, claiming a headache, but really I just couldn't stand another minute of their hostility. As I walked to my car, I heard Victoria through the open window, "Don't worry, Richard. We'll handle the Catherine problem." I should have paid more attention to those words. I should have realized they were planning something. But I drove home thinking it was just another difficult family dinner, not knowing they were about to launch a coordinated attack designed to destroy my life. Which brings us back to that horrible Monday morning. Grace, my co-worker, was still holding her phone in front of my face, her expression a mixture of shock and sympathy. Catherine, I'm so sorry. My cousin knows your stepsister Emma, and she shared this in our group chat. I thought you should see it. With trembling fingers, I took the phone and read the poll again, hoping I'd misunderstood. But there it was in black and white. If you could erase one person from the Johnson family, should it be Catherine? Posted by Richard Johnson, my father, at 11:30 the night before. The votes were climbing as I watched. 53. 54. 55. The comments section was a massacre of my character. Victoria had written, "She destroyed our family harmony. Everything was peaceful before she decided she was too good for us." Below that, Emma added, "Growing up with her was torture. She always made me feel worthless and stupid. I still have anxiety from her constant need to be perfect." My hands shook as I scrolled further. Tyler's contribution, selfish witch who only cares about money. Wouldn't help her own brother when he was struggling. Some sister. But it got worse. Extended family members I hadn't seen in years were chiming in. Cousin Janet wrote, "Remember when she ruined Christmas 2018? So dramatic." I racked my brain trying to remember what happened that Christmas. Then it hit me. I'd had the flu and stayed home to avoid getting elderly relatives sick. Somehow that had become me ruining Christmas. Aunt Martha, my father's sister who I'd always thought liked me, had posted. Been waiting years for someone to finally say this. That girl has been nothing but trouble since her mother died. Poor Richard deserved better than raising such an ungrateful daughter. Each word felt like a physical blow. My mother had been dead for 10 years, and Aunt Martha was using her memory to attack me. Uncle Bob, who I'd helped move houses just last summer, added his voice, "Stuck-up little thing. Wouldn't even hug me at Thanksgiving." I remembered that Thanksgiving. Uncle Bob had been drunk and tried to corner me in the kitchen, making inappropriate comments about my dress. I'd politely avoided him the rest of the night. My phone started buzzing with notifications. The poll had been shared to multiple family Facebook groups, including one called Johnson Family Updates that had over 100 members. Relatives I'd never even met were voting on whether I should be erased from the family. As I scrolled through my phone with shaking hands, I found something that gave me a tiny spark of hope. My grandmother Helen had commented, "This is disgusting. How dare you do this to your own daughter, Richard? Catherine is a wonderful young woman." But her defense was immediately attacked. Victoria replied, "With all due respect, Helen, you don't see what we live with daily. She manipulates you too." Emma added, "Grandma, she only visits you when she wants something." That was a complete lie. I visited my grandmother every Sunday for lunch, something none of them ever did. More coworkers were gathering around my desk now, having heard about the situation through the office grapevine. My manager, Sandra, approached with concern. "Catherine, why don't you take the rest of the day off? This seems like a family emergency." I nodded numbly, gathering my things while trying to ignore the pitying looks from colleagues. As I walked to the parking garage, my phone rang. It was my father. With trembling fingers, I answered. "Dad?" His voice was cold and formal. "Catherine, we need to talk about your attitude problem. This poll wasn't meant to hurt you. It was meant to open your eyes to how your behavior affects everyone around you." I stopped walking, standing alone in the concrete garage. "My behavior? Dad, you posted a poll asking if I should be erased from the family." He sighed as if I was being dramatic. "It's a metaphor, Catherine. We're trying to help you see that your selfishness is tearing this family apart. Victoria suggested it might be the wake-up call you need." Of course Victoria suggested it. "Dad, this is cyberbullying. You're publicly humiliating me." His voice turned angry. "Don't you dare play victim here. You've been looking down on us for years, flashing your money, making Emma feel worthless, ignoring Tyler's needs. We're done enabling your narcissism." The line went dead. He'd hung up on me. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, trying to process what was happening. When I finally checked Facebook again, the situation had gotten worse. The poll now had 89 votes, with 71 voting to erase me. Someone had screenshot the poll and shared it to a local community Facebook page with the caption, "Family drama at its finest." Strangers were now commenting on my family situation. My phone buzzed with a notification that made my blood run cold. I'd been tagged in a post by Victoria in a group called Dealing with Toxic Family Members. She'd written a long post about how I'd terrorized them for years, how they'd tried everything to help me, but I was beyond redemption. The post was accompanied by carefully cropped photos making it look like I was always scowling or angry at family events. The drive home was a blur. I kept getting notifications, each one another stab to my heart. By the time I reached my apartment, I discovered they'd blocked me from commenting on the poll or any of their posts. I was being tried and convicted without any chance to defend myself. My best friend Kelly called as I was unlocking my door. "Honey, I just saw everything on Facebook. This is insane. Are you okay?" I broke down crying, telling her everything while she listened in horrified silence. "They planned this," I sobbed. "Victoria said they'd handle the Catherine problem and this is what they meant." Kelly's voice was fierce. "This is abuse, Catherine. Serious psychological abuse. You need to document everything. Screenshot it all." She was right, but at that moment, all I wanted to do was curl up and disappear. Maybe they were right. Maybe the family would be better off without me. The thought scared me, and I realized that was exactly what they wanted me to think. By Tuesday evening, I'd received a text from my father that felt like a summons to my own execution. "Family meeting tonight at 7. Be there or we'll make decisions without you." Kelly had offered to come with me for support, but I knew that would only make things worse. They'd accuse me of needing backup because I was guilty. So I drove to my childhood home alone, my stomach churning with each mile. The street was packed with cars, far more than just my immediate family. As I walked up the driveway, I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. This wasn't a family meeting. It was an ambush. The moment I stepped inside, I understood the full scope of their plan. 15 family members were arranged in the living room like a tribunal. My father stood at the front holding a manila folder, while Victoria sat in my mother's old armchair like she was holding court. Emma perched on the arm of the chair, tissues already in hand for her performance. Tyler lounged against the wall, smirking like he was enjoying a show. But it was the extended family that made my heart sink. Aunt Martha, Uncle Bob, cousins Janet and Derek, my father's brother Tom and his wife Sandra, and several others I barely recognized. They'd assembled an army. "Sit," my father commanded, pointing to a single chair in the center of the room. It felt like being in front of a firing squad. I remained standing. "I'll stand, thanks." Victoria's voice dripped fake concern. "This hostility is exactly why we're here, Catherine. We're trying to help you." My father opened his folder with theatrical precision. "I've documented your pattern of selfish behavior. Let's start with last month when Tyler asked for help with his student loans." I found my voice. He asked for $5,000 to pay off credit cards, not student loans. And he'd just posted pictures from his Vegas trip. Tyler pushed off the wall, aggressive. "See? She keeps track of everything to use against us. What kind of sister does that?" My father continued reading from his list like a prosecutor. "You missed Emma's community college play to attend a work conference." Emma began her performance, tears rolling down her cheeks. "It was the most important night of my life, and she couldn't even bother to show up. She never supports my dreams." I tried to stay calm. "Emma, I had a mandatory conference in Chicago. I asked if they recorded the play so I could watch it later." She wailed louder. "Recorded isn't the same. You just don't care about anyone but yourself." Aunt Martha chimed in from her throne on the couch. "This is exactly how she's always been. Remember when she was 15 and refused to share her birthday money with Tyler?" I stared at her in disbelief. That was money I'd saved for 6 months to buy a laptop for school. She waved dismissively. "Always an excuse." The accusations kept coming like bullets. I'd bought a new car instead of helping Dad repair his boat. I'd been dating someone for 3 months without introducing him for family approval. I'd gone on vacation to Hawaii instead of attending cousin Derek's 3rd wedding. Each complaint was more petty than the last, but they'd created a narrative where I was a selfish monster who cared only about money and success. Uncle Bob stood up, his face red. "And let's not forget how she disrespected me at Thanksgiving. Too good to give her uncle a hug." I couldn't hold back anymore. "You were drunk and made inappropriate comments about my body." I was protecting myself. The room erupted. Victoria gasped dramatically. "How dare you make such accusations? Bob would never." Emma cried harder. "She always lies to make herself look better." My father slammed his hand on the coffee table. "Enough. Catherine, this is exactly the problem. You always play victim, always make excuses. We're done enabling your behavior." He pulled out another document. "We've made some decisions as a family. First, you will apologize publicly on Facebook for your years of toxic behavior. Second, you will set up automatic monthly payments to help Tyler with his debt. $500 minimum. Third, you will contribute $10,000 to Emma's wedding fund immediately. Fourth, you will sign over your recent bonus to help with family expenses. And fifth, you will attend weekly family counseling sessions where Victoria will help mediate your issues." I looked around the room at these people who were supposed to love me. Their faces were hard, eager to see me broken. "And if I refuse?" I asked quietly. Victoria stood, her moment of triumph. "Then you're no longer welcome in this family. We'll cut all contact, and you'll be dead to us." Emma added through her fake tears, "Just like you've been emotionally dead to us for years." I felt something break inside me, but also something else. A strange calm. "You want me to pay Tyler's gambling debts, fund a wedding for someone who isn't even engaged, and give you my bonus because you've decided I'm selfish?" All based on twisted versions of events and outright lies? My father's face grew cold. This is your problem, Catherine. You think you're better than us. You always have. I stood straighter, looking at each of them. No, Dad. I just think I deserve better than this. Better than being attacked for being successful. Better than being labeled toxic for having boundaries. Better than being cyberbullied by my own family. Aunt Martha huffed. Cyberbullied? Don't be so dramatic. I pulled out my phone. 147 people have now voted on whether I should be erased from this family. It's been shared to community groups where strangers are discussing my character. That's the definition of cyberbullying. Tyler laughed. Maybe if you weren't such a bitch, people wouldn't vote against you. The mask was slipping. Their careful performance of concern was giving way to their real feelings. Pure hatred. I think I should go, I said, moving toward the door. My father blocked my path. You leave now, and you're no longer my daughter. No inheritance, no family events, nothing. You'll be alone, just like you deserve. I looked into his eyes, searching for any trace of the man who used to push me on swings and call me his princess. But that man was gone, replaced by someone poisoned by Victoria's influence and his own resentment. I guess I'm already alone, I said quietly. I have been since Mom died. That hit a nerve. His face contorted. Don't you dare bring your mother into this. She'd be ashamed of what you've become. That was the final straw. No, Dad. She'd be ashamed of what you've become. A man who posts polls about erasing his own daughter. A man who lets his new wife turn him against his children. A man who chooses money over family. I pushed past him and walked out, Victoria's voice following me, run away like you always do. But this isn't over, Catherine. Not by a long shot. The next 3 days became a living nightmare that showed me just how far my family would go to destroy me. By Wednesday morning, the poll had somehow reached over 200 votes and had gone viral in our town. I woke to 57 notifications, most from numbers I didn't recognize, all containing variations of the same message. Saw the family drama on Facebook. You should be ashamed of yourself. Someone had taken screenshots of the poll and Victoria's posts, creating a collage titled "The Worst Daughter in Madison County" that was being shared across multiple community groups. My phone rang constantly with blocked numbers leaving voicemails that ranged from disapproving lectures to outright threats. The situation at work deteriorated rapidly. Wednesday afternoon, my boss Sandra called me into her office, her expression grave. Catherine, HR received an anonymous complaint about you. My heart sank. A complaint? She slid a printed email across the desk. Someone sent them links to the Facebook situation, claiming you create toxic environments everywhere you go and that we should investigate your promotion for potential misconduct. The email was obviously from Victoria, though submitted anonymously. It contained twisted versions of events, claiming I'd sabotaged coworkers and manipulated my way to success. Sandra's voice was gentle but concerned. I don't believe any of this, but HR has to investigate. You might want to consider taking some personal time while this gets sorted out. By Thursday, the online harassment had evolved into real-world consequences. I discovered my car had been keyed overnight, the word selfish carved deep into the driver's side door. My apartment building's security footage mysteriously didn't capture anything. When I went to my usual coffee shop, the barista awkwardly informed me that someone had called claiming I was dangerous and shouldn't be served. The reservation I'd made weeks ago for a business dinner was cancelled, the restaurant manager explaining they'd received concerning information about me and preferred to avoid potential drama. Even my neighbors started avoiding eye contact, and I overheard Mrs. Patterson from down the hall whisper to her friend, "That's the girl whose whole family disowned her. Must be something really wrong with her." Emma escalated her campaign by posting a series of throwback photos on Instagram with captions that painted me as an abusive sister. One showed us at her 10th birthday party with the caption, The day she told me I was too fat for cake. I was 10. That never happened. I'd actually defended her when Victoria commented on her second slice. Another showed us at Christmas 5 years ago, pretending to be happy while she criticized my handmade gifts. In reality, I'd treasured the scarf she'd knitted me and wore it constantly. Each post was flooded with comments from her friends and strangers alike, calling me a monster. When I tried to report the posts for harassment, Instagram found no violation of community guidelines. Tyler created a GoFundMe titled "Help Us Heal from a Toxic Sister's Financial Abuse." His description claimed I'd stolen money from him, sabotaged his job opportunities, and left him homeless while living in luxury. He'd raised $800 in 2 days from sympathetic strangers and distant relatives. The lies were so outrageous I couldn't believe people were falling for them. He'd never been homeless, he chose to live in our parents' basement. I'd never stolen from him, I'd refused to enable his gambling. But the truth didn't matter anymore. The narrative was set. I was the villain, and they were the victims. Friday brought the most disturbing development. Victoria went live on Facebook for what she called a healing session for families dealing with narcissistic relatives. For 45 minutes, she sobbed on camera, detailing years of alleged abuse from me. She claimed I'd tried to seduce her husband, my own father, out of jealousy. She said I'd poisoned Emma against her, forced Tyler into debt, and threatened violence if they exposed me. Hundreds of viewers offered support and shared their own stories. The video was shared to multiple groups with millions of members. I watched in horror as Victoria held up items she'd stolen from my childhood room, claiming they were evidence of my disturbed mind. My old diary became proof of my plotting against the family. School awards became evidence of my pathological need for attention. The psychological warfare was working. I hadn't slept in 3 days, could barely eat, and jumped at every notification. When my doorbell rang Friday evening, I approached it with dread, checking through the peephole first. It was Kelly, holding takeout bags and looking fierce. "You're not facing this alone anymore," she declared, pushing inside. "I've been watching everything unfold online, and this is criminal. They're committing defamation, harassment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress." She'd brought her boyfriend Marcus, who worked in IT security. As we ate Chinese food, he pulled out his laptop. "I've been documenting everything. Every post, every comment, every share. This is coordinated harassment, and we're going to prove it." That's when my phone rang. It was my grandmother Helen. Her voice was shaky but determined. "Catherine, dear, I need to tell you something. This isn't about you at all. It's about my will." My heart stopped. "Your will?" She sighed heavily. "I updated it last year. The house goes to you, along with most of my savings. I told your father last month when he asked for another loan. Victoria overheard, and that's when this all started. She's orchestrating everything to make you look unstable so they can contest the will when I'm gone." Everything clicked into place. The timing, the intensity, the involvement of extended family who might benefit if I was disinherited. This wasn't about my promotion or success. It was about money. It was always about money. "Grandma, I'm so sorry you're caught in this," I said, tears flowing. Her voice grew stronger. "Don't you apologize. I see who they really are now. Your mother would be horrified. I've already called my lawyer to make sure my wishes are ironclad. But Catherine, they're not going to stop. Victoria has done this before." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" Grandma's next words changed everything. "Before she married your father, she was married to a man in Seattle. His daughter from his first marriage suddenly became toxic and was driven out of the family. That girl contacted me last month after seeing Victoria's name in my Facebook posts. The pattern is identical. Victoria targets the children who stand to inherit, turns the family against them, and takes everything. She's a professional predator, and your father is just her latest mark." Armed with my grandmother's revelation, Kelly, Marcus, and I spent Saturday conducting our own investigation. Marcus had discovered Victoria's secret Facebook group called Dealing with Toxic Catherine through a fake account. What we found inside was a masterclass in manipulation that had been 6 months in the making. The group had 30 members, mostly family but also some of Victoria's friends who'd never even met me. The earliest posts dated back to January, right after Grandma had updated her will. Victoria had been planting seeds of doubt about me for months, sharing carefully edited stories and building a false narrative that I was unstable and dangerous. The screenshots we collected revealed the terrifying scope of the conspiracy. In one post from March, Victoria wrote, "Phase 1 is making everyone see her true nature. Phase 2 will be documenting her instability. Phase 3 is ensuring she can't inherit what rightfully belongs to this family." Emma had responded, "Just tell me what to do, Mom. I'm tired of pretending to like her anyway." That stung more than I expected. All those sisterly moments I'd cherished were apparently one-sided. Tyler's contributions were desperate and angry. "I owe Big Mike 12 grand. If we don't get Grandma's money, I'm screwed. Catherine needs to be gone yesterday." My father's rare posts were cold and calculating, discussing legal strategies for contesting inheritances based on mental instability. The most damning evidence came from a conversation between Victoria and someone named Linda Morrison. Marcus did some digging and discovered Linda was Victoria's ex-stepdaughter from Seattle, the one Grandma had mentioned. We reached out to her through Facebook, and she agreed to a video call that afternoon. Linda, now 35 and living in Portland, looked haunted as she told her story. "Victoria married my dad when I was 22. Within a year, she'd convinced him I was toxic, selfish, and trying to break up their marriage. She created fake evidence, staged incidents, and turned my entire family against me. By the time she was done, I was completely estranged. Dad died 2 years later, and I found out she'd had him change his will 3 weeks before his death. I got nothing, and she sold everything and disappeared. Linda had kept receipts. She showed us old Facebook posts that were eerily similar to what Victoria was doing to me. The same language about toxic behavior, the same tactics of public humiliation, even the same crocodile tears in Facebook live videos. "I tried to warn your dad when I saw their engagement announcement," Linda said, "but Victoria had already told him I was a crazy ex-stepdaughter who couldn't accept her happiness. He blocked me without even listening." She'd also discovered Victoria had done this at least twice before Seattle, leaving a trail of broken families and emptied bank accounts across 3 states. "She's a black widow," Linda said grimly. "But instead of killing her husbands, she kills their relationships with their children." Marcus had been busy tracking the money trail. The GoFundMe Tyler created was linked to an account that showed regular transfers to online gambling sites. Emma's art supplies and classes Victoria claimed to be struggling to afford were being charged to credit cards in my father's name, maxing them out. Victoria herself had opened several credit accounts using my father's information, racking up $40,000 in debt he didn't know about. She was bleeding him dry while making him think I was the financial drain on the family. But the most shocking discovery came from a message Marcus found in the group from 2 weeks ago. Victoria had written, "If the poll doesn't work, we move to Plan B. I have a friend who can plant things on her computer that will make her look very unstable. Sometimes you have to help karma along." We also discovered Aunt Martha's involvement went deeper than family loyalty. Victoria had promised her a significant sum from the eventual inheritance for her cooperation. In one message, Martha wrote, "Just tell me what to say about Catherine, and I'll say it. That house should go to real family anyway, not some ungrateful brat." Uncle Bob was being blackmailed. Victoria had photos from his office Christmas party that his wife wouldn't appreciate. Each flying monkey in Victoria's army had been carefully recruited through bribes, promises, or threats. My family hadn't just turned against me, they'd been weaponized. The technical evidence was equally damning. Marcus found that Victoria had created multiple fake accounts to vote on the poll and comment on posts. She'd used these accounts to share the drama to larger groups, ensuring maximum visibility. She'd even created a fake LinkedIn profile for me, filled with inflammatory posts that could damage my career if discovered by potential employers. The dating profile issue Grandma mentioned? Victoria had created profiles on multiple sites using my photos, writing bio descriptions that made me sound like a gold-digging sociopath. When matches would research me and find the family drama, they'd run. It was a systematic destruction of every aspect of my life. Kelly had been researching the legal implications. "This is criminal harassment, defamation, fraud, and conspiracy," she said. "We have enough evidence to press charges and sue for damages. But Catherine, you need to decide if you want to go nuclear or try to handle this another way." As I looked at the mountain of evidence we'd compiled, showing how my stepmother had orchestrated my destruction while my father enabled it and my siblings eagerly participated, I felt something shift inside me. The hurt was still there, but it was transforming into something else. Determination. They'd tried to erase me, but instead, they'd revealed themselves. And now I had the power to expose them all. Sunday morning, I sat in my apartment with Kelly and Marcus, surrounded by printed evidence and laptop screens full of proof. We'd spent all night preparing for what I was about to do. "Are you sure about this?" Kelly asked one more time. I nodded, my resolve firm. They wanted to destroy me publicly. They deserved to be exposed publicly. At exactly noon, when I knew most of the family would be sitting down to Sunday dinner, I went live on Facebook. My hands were steady as I looked into the camera. "My name is Catherine Johnson, and 5 days ago, my father posted a poll asking if I should be erased from our family. Today, I'm going to show you the truth about why this happened." For the next hour, I methodically presented the evidence. I shared screenshots of Victoria's secret group, highlighting her posts about the 3 phases of destroying me. I showed the timeline proving this started exactly when Grandma updated her will. I played the recorded conversation with Linda Morrison, Victoria's previous victim, whose story mirrored mine perfectly. The Facebook Live viewer count climbed steadily, 100, 500, 1,000. Comments poured in from shocked family friends, former classmates, and complete strangers who'd been following the drama. But I was just getting started. I exposed Emma's lies with receipts. The birthday cake incident she claimed traumatized her? I had photos from that day showing her eating 3 slices while I helped clean up. The Christmas where I allegedly mocked her handmade gifts? I showed a photo of me wearing the scarf she made, plus the thank you card I'd sent her. For every accusation she'd made, I had evidence proving it was false. Then I moved on to Tyler, showing his GoFundMe donations going straight to gambling sites. I displayed his text messages begging me for money while calling me a stupid bitch when I refused. I showed the court records from his DUI arrest last year that he'd hidden from our parents, which I'd helped him navigate without asking for repayment. My father's financial situation came next. Using public records and the information Marcus had found, I revealed the massive debt Victoria had accumulated in his name. The boat he claimed I wouldn't help fix? Victoria had sold it 3 months ago without telling him, pocketing the money. His construction business was on the verge of bankruptcy because Victoria had been siphoning funds into accounts he didn't know existed. The man who accused me of being selfish with money was being robbed blind by his own wife. The evidence was irrefutable, and I watched the viewer count hit 3,000 as people shared the stream. Then Grandma Helen joined the live stream, her face appearing in a split screen next to mine. At 83, she was sharp as ever and furious about what they'd done to me. "I want everyone to hear this directly from me," she said firmly. "I'm leaving my house and the majority of my estate to Catherine because she's the only one who actually cares about me as a person, not a wallet. She visits me every Sunday, not to ask for money but to share lunch and stories. The rest of them only call when they need something. Victoria married my son for his money and is trying to steal what I've chosen to leave my granddaughter. But that ends today." Grandma then dropped the biggest bombshell. "I hired a private investigator last month after Linda Morrison contacted me. What he found goes beyond what Catherine has shown you. Victoria Hendricks isn't even her real name. She's Margaret Colstone, wanted for fraud in 2 states. She's done this to 4 families that we know of, possibly more. And here's the part that will interest Emma the most: Richard isn't your biological father. Your mother was already pregnant when she met him. She baby-trapped him with another man's child and has been lying to everyone for 22 years. The chat exploded. Emma, who we knew was watching, started commenting frantically, calling Grandma a liar. But Grandma had receipts. The private investigator's report, court records from Victoria's previous identities, even a DNA test she'd secretly conducted using Emma's hairbrush. As the revelations continued, the family members who'd attacked me started backtracking in the comments. Aunt Martha suddenly claimed she'd been pressured into participating. Uncle Bob admitted Victoria had compromising information on him. Cousins who'd voted to erase me were now saying they'd been misled. But the damage to their reputations was done. Their communities were watching them get exposed as either gullible fools or willing participants in a vicious harassment campaign. Several people commented that they'd be reviewing business relationships with my father and uncle. Tyler's employer posted that they'd be investigating the situation. Emma's community college friends were openly mocking her in the chat. The final phase of my counterattack was the most satisfying. I announced that I'd already filed police reports for harassment and cyberbullying. My lawyer, whom Kelly had helped me retain, had sent cease and desist letters to all primary participants. We were pursuing both criminal charges and civil lawsuits for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and fraud. The GoFundMe had been reported and would be shut down, with Tyler potentially facing fraud charges. Victoria, or rather Margaret, would be reported to authorities in multiple states. And my father? He was about to discover just how thoroughly his wife had destroyed his life while he was busy trying to destroy mine. I ended the stream with a calm statement. To those who voted to erase me from the family, congratulations. Consider me erased. I want nothing to do with people who could so easily believe lies and participate in cruelty. But remember this: you didn't erase me because I was toxic. You tried to erase me because my light made your darkness visible. And now everyone can see exactly who you really are. The stream ended with over 10,000 viewers and hundreds of shares. My phone immediately started ringing with calls from family members, but I turned it off. The counterattack was complete, and the aftermath would unfold without me. They'd wanted me gone, and they'd gotten their wish, just not in the way they'd planned. 3 months have passed since that explosive Facebook Live, and my life looks completely different now. I'm writing this from my new apartment downtown, a beautiful loft with exposed brick walls and huge windows that let in abundant natural light. The address is unknown to my former family, and I intend to keep it that way. The no-contact order I have against Victoria, Emma, Tyler, and several extended family members ensures they can't legally approach me, not that they would want to anymore. Their lives imploded in spectacular fashion after the truth came out, but I'll get to that in a moment. The immediate aftermath of my revelations was swift and brutal for them. Victoria, whose real name was indeed Margaret Colstone, was arrested 2 days after my livestream when law enforcement connected her to fraud cases in Oregon and Nevada. She's currently awaiting trial and facing up to 15 years in prison. My father, the man who chose his new wife over his daughter, discovered the true extent of her deception when investigators froze their accounts. She'd stolen over $200,000 through various schemes, leaving him bankrupt. The construction business he'd built over 30 years was forced to close. He's now living in a small apartment, working as a day laborer at age 58. He sent me 43 emails begging for forgiveness and financial help. I've read none of them. Emma's world shattered when the DNA revelation proved true. The man she'd called dad her entire life wasn't her biological father, and the mother she'd defended so viciously had built her entire existence on lies. She dropped out of community college after becoming a social pariah, her dramatic victim act exposed for everyone to see. Last I heard from Kelly, who keeps tabs through mutual acquaintances, Emma was working at a fast food restaurant and living with a friend. She posted a long apology on Facebook that I never read, then deleted all her social media. Tyler faced the consequences of his choices when the GoFundMe fraud investigation led to discovery of his gambling debts to dangerous people. He fled the state and nobody knows where he is. Good riddance. But this story isn't about their downfall, it's about my rising. After taking 2 weeks off work to deal with the legal aspects and my mental health, I returned to find incredible support from my colleagues. My boss Sandra had watched the entire livestream and was appalled by what my family had put me through. The company rallied around me, and when a director position opened up in our Denver office, Sandra recommended me for it. I got the promotion, which came with a 40% salary increase and a chance to completely start fresh in a new city. I accepted immediately. The legal proceedings have been favorable. The civil lawsuit against Victoria resulted in a judgment of $150,000 for defamation and emotional distress, though I'll likely never see a penny given her imprisonment. More importantly, the criminal harassment charges stuck, and several family members received restraining orders and probation. Aunt Martha was forced to pay $5,000 in damages and publicly apologize. Uncle Bob's marriage ended when his wife saw the livestream and discovered what compromising photos Victoria had been holding over him. The extended family scattered like roaches when the light turned on, each dealing with their own social consequences for participating in mob harassment. My relationship with Grandma Helen has grown even stronger. She moved to a senior living community closer to my new apartment in Denver, and we have lunch every Sunday just like before. She's become my rock, the family I choose to keep. She revised her will to be absolutely airtight, ensuring that none of them can contest it when the time comes. But more than that, she's helped me understand that family isn't about blood, it's about love, respect, and loyalty. She showed me all of that when she stood up for me publicly, risking her own relationships to defend the truth. My chosen family has expanded beautifully. Kelly remains my best friend and fiercest protector, flying out to help me move and staying a week to make sure I was settled. Marcus helped me secure all my digital accounts and ensure Victoria's fake profiles were scrubbed from the internet. My new coworkers in Denver have embraced me warmly, knowing nothing about the drama unless I choose to share. I've joined a hiking group, started taking pottery classes, and slowly built a community of people who know me as Catherine, the marketing director who loves sunset hikes, not Catherine, the family scapegoat. I started therapy to process the trauma, because being targeted by your entire family leaves deep wounds. My therapist helped me understand that I'd been the scapegoat long before Victoria arrived, that my success and independence threatened their dysfunction. Victoria simply weaponized existing resentments. The healing hasn't been linear. There are still nights I wake up in a panic, dreaming about that first moment seeing the pole. But each day gets easier. I've learned to set boundaries, to recognize red flags, and most importantly, to never dim my light for anyone's comfort. The greatest gift from this nightmare has been meeting David. He's a software engineer in my hiking group who noticed I always hiked alone, never mentioning family. When I finally told him the story, expecting him to run, he said quietly, "They tried to erase you, but you're still here. That makes you the strongest person I know." We've been dating for 2 months now, taking it slow, but he's shown me what healthy love looks like. He celebrates my successes, respects my boundaries, and his family welcomed me warmly at Thanksgiving, no judgment about my past. I've also found purpose in my pain. I started a blog called Scapegoat Survivors where I share my story and resources for others facing family mobbing and narcissistic abuse. The response has been overwhelming, with thousands of people sharing their own experiences of being targeted by toxic families. We've created a supportive community where chosen family means everything. I've spoken at several conferences about cyberbullying and family abuse, turning my worst experience into a way to help others. The girl they tried to erase has become a voice for those still trapped in silence. As for forgiveness? I'm not there yet, and I may never be. Some betrayals cut too deep, especially when they come from people who were supposed to protect you. My therapist says forgiveness isn't necessary for healing. What matters is releasing their hold on my life. I've done that by building something beautiful from the ashes they created. My life is fuller, richer, and more authentic without them. The family that tried to erase me only succeeded in erasing themselves from my future. And honestly, that's the greatest gift they ever gave me. My name is Catherine, and at 32, I learned that sometimes the family you're born into is just your starting point, not your destination. They tried to erase me, but instead, I erased the power they had over me. Now I know, the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right by living a life so full of joy that their hatred becomes irrelevant. The family that matters isn't always blood, it's the people who see your worth when others try to diminish it. And to anyone watching who's been targeted by their own family, remember this: their darkness can only extinguish your light if you let it. Don't let it. Shine brighter. Rise higher. And never, ever apologize for being everything they were too afraid to become. If you've experienced family scapegoating or cyberbullying, share your story in the comments below. Your voice matters, and you're not alone. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories of survival and triumph. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear that they're worthy of love and respect, regardless of what their family says. Thank you for witnessing my truth today, and remember, the only person who can erase you is you. Don't give anyone else that power. Stay strong, survivors. Your chosen family is out there waiting for you.